with this. Okay, the brands and the work of this panel are absolutely incredible. But most importantly, the people on this panel who believe in the purpose and want to give back and have the passion to do what they do every day to support others. You are all truly inspiring, and I cannot thank you enough for being here. You guys are the proof that we are better together. Thank you. We have two brands that are providing incredible givebacks, and the panel today consists of the wonderful people representing the brands as well as the organizations they're supporting. So Emily Gilmore is here moderating today. Hey, Emily. Emily is a board chair for Still Kickin. I said kicking and that felt really weird. Still Kickin. If you aren't aware, Still Kickin is a retail-based nonprofit whose mission is to build a braver, more supportive world. Iyamba is here for Faribault, Woolen Mills, and kind of, you know, representing yourself as well, which is great. I was sharing this before we went live, I guess. We go back to, 2009. And I'm just so thrilled that you're on here today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. And then we have Jeffrey Moores with you guys. You explore what it means to be a change maker every day through Greater Twin Cities United Way. Thank you so much for being here. Christie Covarrubias. Did I say that right?
Yes,
Christie, is that
well
good?
done.
I really almost wanted to roll the R, but it's a
to.
very fun name to say. From Sun 50, and you're in the Black Hills today.
I am.
Amazing.
I've got a bison audience.
Yes, we have bison joining us today. We're just beyond impressed with what you're doing and so excited. We knew there was going to be like the perfect time that we could highlight you and what you're doing every day. And we're thrilled that you're on this panel today. So thank you. And Jazmine Smith, but I think she typically, we call her Jazz, Coach. Some people call her Coach Jazz, from Eyekonz Sports, coming all the way from Philadelphia. Thank you for all that you do every day. You to support inner city kids through field hockey and lacrosse. And I mean, so much more than that. So we're thrilled you can be here. Absolutely a major bonus for having lab talks on be virtual through Zoom. We can have amazing people like you today. So thank you for being here, Jazz.
Thank you.
I am going to hand it over to Emily now. Thank you so much, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Molly. What a really passionate introduction and a way to get us going here. So thank you very much for having all of us. Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Gilmore, and I am board chair for Still Kickin, as Molly mentioned. It is interesting to be a part of a nonprofit in kind of the time that we're living in right now when there are so many needs and so many causes to support. And I'm really excited that we have our panelists here today to talk a little bit about how they focus their efforts kind of in the midst of a world where there are just so many people who need assistance. So excited to be here leading this conversation. A little bit about myself and kind of why and where I am at with Still Kickin, just for referencing context. I lost my husband to cancer when he was 25 years old, and that immediately prompted a little bit more of a give back in the really living life. And so that was the kind of catalyst for myself wanting to be part of something great with myself. I think I was always a caring and compassionate person, but unfortunately, it took a really drastic life circumstance, which me into the direction of wanting to do more than just kind of go to work every day for a large for-profit company when I had experienced such a trauma. And so I personally am invested in giving back in the community here in Minneapolis and beyond. So I do sit here in Minnesota. I'm a Minneapolis native, and so I'm proud to be representing Still Kickin today and also to be with such wonderful panelists. And so I kind of wanted to jump right in, and my first question or something I wanted to ask was really for Amy and Jeffrey with regards to the justice blanket. And so I'd love to hear really where it started, because, you know, there might have been one catalyst, but I think that when you think about being really mindful and strategic about a give back collaboration, there's actually a lot of back and forth that happens. And both of you work in organizations that also have internal politics. Let's be honest, Faribault isn't a teeny tiny company, and United Way of Greater Minneapolis, not a teeny tiny company. And so I'd love to hear how you two came together and launched the Justice Blanket. So or whoever wants to take it over first, just jump right in.
Jeannie, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead
Okay.
first. Why don't you share what happened there at Faribault?
Okay, for us, it was at the height of the George Floyd movement. You know, it's really, we were all kind of in our meeting, and that's really what prompted the beginning of the conversation. So at the execs at Faribault. So it was really how are we going to show support for protecting against police brutality in our community, right, and the injustices that we're facing, and we thought really hard about it. And I was, I was tasked with the idea of designing the blanket. And the key thing for me was really focused on keeping the blanket simple, the design of the blanket simple, but also making sure that there was a lot that the beauty of the blanket was all about the simplicity of it. And so, although you look at it and you see, various colors, and you just think it's just a simple blanket, there was a lot that really went into it. And what went into the design was really more about my experiences in life. And what I wanted to focus on was, again, keeping it simple, but because the blanket itself would be having the black ground represents Black America to me, and how the landscape of America has been really built on the backs of African Americans. And then, looking back in history and the colors of, the red, black, and green by Marcus Garvey, which the red stands for the royal blood that flows through Black people, and the green about vegetation, and then also black about Black Americans. I really wanted to make sure that I incorporate that into the design of the blanket. So although you look at it and it's very, very simple, there was a lot that went into it. And furthermore, when you look at the three colors of red, black, and green, the red's always first. But as you look at the blanket, I actually flipped it upside down. So I started red, black, and green, and then I reversed it. And that was a sign of the times for me, meaning based on where we are in the current situation in our country, we are basically upside down. So that's how that started, that conversation. And then through relationships with our CEO and United Way, we felt that United Way was just a natural, for what they do in the community all across the country, would be the natural partner for us to partner with to help rebuild the communities. And this is why I'll let Jeffrey take it away from how that came about.
Yeah, for Greater Twin Cities United Way, this was an amazing opportunity, not only because of the timing, but because of the relationships that Eni mentioned, where we've worked with Faribault for a number of years, and United Way doesn't have a ton of experience with unique opportunities like this, these cause marketing partnerships. So it took us a while, over a number of years, to start thinking, how can we do more of this work and partner with brands in substantial ways? As it happens, United Way was creating our local rebuild fund after George Floyd's murder to help especially small businesses owned by minorities recover in the areas that saw unrest. And that was a great opportunity to partner with Faribault, because Paul Grandgard, the other leaders, Eni, were very eager to put their brand forward as a brand that cares about these issues deeply. Meanwhile, at the same time that we were launching that fund, United Way has been strengthening our brand mission and our vision, and increasing our recognition that systemic racism has a direct effect on poverty, has a direct effect on all of our lives. And if we want a better Minnesota and a better Greater Twin Cities region, we need to look at those issues. On the marketing side of things and on the donor acquisition side of things, which is where I work, I have always viewed cause marketing partnerships like this as a great opportunity, not only to help lend legitimacy to a brand like Faribault, but for us to be seen in a new way from donors, from customers, from citizens in the area that might not know what United Way does. And we're such a large organization, and we have investments and grant work in so many unique areas, that we need opportunities like that to tell our story outside of our traditional channels, which include a lot of corporate relationships. We run a lot of employee giving campaigns. So if you've worked for a medium or large size company, almost anywhere in the country, you might be familiar with United Way's employee campaign model. But it's also very important for our future that we're seeking out opportunities like this to break that mold and get our brand in front of individuals in new ways. So that has been beneficial, this partnership, not only because we care deeply about the same issues that Eni just so perfectly explored, but it's great for us and for our bottom line, to be very frank.
Yeah, no, I think sometimes when you think about give back campaigns, in a way, you kind of stray away from the fact that it actually benefits your bottom line. And the reality is you're in business for a very specific reason, and you can't ignore the bottom line when you're thinking about launching these types of campaigns, collaborations. And so for Eni, I'd love to hear from you. Was there anything that surprised you from this joint collaboration that you embarked on?
I think the most surprising thing for me was, I don't know if it was really surprising, but I think it just shows that you can't please everyone. We are really focusing on doing something good for the community, to rebuild the businesses like Jeffrey spoke about. And obviously in the age of social media, everyone's really very quick to give their opinions without really understanding, all that goes into it, and make assumptions. And that was really the most surprising things for me, was that it was just some of the comments that people made. But at the end of the day, that's the key thing about the current situation that we're in. This isn't only a moment; it's a movement, and we have to look at that. Look at it that way, because the companies that are going to embrace, the social injustices that are happening in our country, the inequalities that are happening in our country, know that there are going to be tough times, going through that. And so we are full-heartedly wanting to embrace this moment. And at the end of it all, we felt that, that the positive would outweigh the negative. So I think the most surprising thing was really kind of some of the comments that we saw from customers via social media.
Yeah, I think it's the reality that, as you mentioned, most movements have controversy or can be divisive. Even if the movement is the right way to go, you're still going to deal with the controversy and the backlash of individuals in the community who are not embracing the change or embracing the movement. You think about something as, when you call it simple as a blanket that has a give back component, for it to be something so divisive, I think sometimes you just have to kind of turn away. And like to your point, you're not going to please everyone. And if you live your life, if you're trying to, like I tell my daughter, like you'll be so unhappy.
Very true. Very true.
Well, thank you. It's really, I appreciate all the background, and obviously being a Minnesota native, Faribault, most people have something from Faribault in their houses. Especially if you're a cabin goer, I'm sure you have something up there too.
Yes, we do.
So Jazz and Christie, I'd like to hear from you two, because you're on opposite ends of the country, right? So we have two Minnesotans here that we just talked to. And so sometimes when you think about partnerships specifically around something socially that happened in one community, those partnerships can come together. I wouldn't say more naturally, but maybe you just know the same people and you kind of put people together. But for the two of you on opposite ends of the country, I'm just dying to know how this came about.
Jazz?
You want to start, Chris?
Who's going to go first?
Sure. Well, as we come together through a mutual friend and longtime connection, and I learned about what Jazz was doing, and I just fell in love with her mission and all of the good character that she's building in these young people. And it was something that we wanted to jump into right away from the beginning, because our company, Some 50, was founded on the mission to help others and to help yourself. And our belief has always been to help neighbors. And someone on my team, I've kind of known a little bit about Jazz, but not as much as I wanted to know. And I was introduced to her organization and connected through a mutual friend. And we just started building this fantastic collaboration. And the young people that she works with, these young ladies, are just, they're amazing. I mean, they're absolutely amazing. And the Sun 50 team so looks forward to our Zoom calls with these girls. And we are so enjoying the development of products together and listening and learning from each other. And it's just been, for me, it's just so heartwarming. And also for the team. Everyone on the team feels this way. So yeah, we're delighted. This is just the beginning.
So you're making gear specifically for these girls, like for recreational and athletic purposes, or is it other, like what exactly are you producing that's helping Jazz and her team out?
Sure, great question. So Sun 50 is a sun protective company. And the company was founded because I'm a California native, and my cousin and I grew up getting terrific sunburns all summer long. And when we were both 32, my cousin had a mole on her back, and it actually metastasized in her brain. And we took her to USC, and we took her to the John Wayne Cancer Institute, and we tried so hard to save her life. But from start to finish, it was 10 months because melanoma is such a deadly disease. And the reality is that it's one of the most common cancers, but to the point that 1 in 5 Americans by the age 70 will have skin cancer. It's UV exposure that we all get every single day. And every day, whether you're driving or you're in an airplane, or for Jazz's situation, these athletes play outside, young athletes, on average 4 hours a day. By the time you're 40, you have approximately 50% of your UV exposure, which is why you're continuing to collect it. Now, the beautiful thing about skin cancer is that it's also, when detected, it's one of the most easy cancers to then take care of. So my big message is we all need to check our skin. And with people of color, while they do not have the incidence of skin cancer as frequently as people with white skin, the reality is that often, because people with colored skin are not looking for skin cancer, they think they're automatically protected by the beautiful colors. But the reality is, by the time it's diagnosed, it's often a very not a good prognosis, to be honest. So there's a higher incidence of death from melanoma because it's just not top of mind. So Jazz and I came together because Jazz's athletes are field athletes. They're playing lacrosse and field hockey. So these girls are out there and they're exposed to tremendous heat and sun every single day. And you want the athletes to focus on the game. And then we also want to make sure that they are well cared for and protected, but oftentimes we don't apply our sunscreen as frequently as we want to. So what we're in development on right now with Jazz, this first development is for the head. There's a high incidence of melanoma in ears, in your scalp. We think that our hair is protecting us, but the reality isn't, it is not. So Jazz should speak more about how she approaches coaching on the field, but we really tried to capture the essence of what Eyekonz does. And with the girls, we created these beautiful graphics. So they're actually going to be kind of a sweat capturing, really cool, because we have to have something really cool, a UPF fabric that is moisture wicking and very lightweight and can easily wash up, but will protect the girls. And if they want to get wet and, you know, put water on their hair, it's okay. So Jazz, I mean, I don't want to steal the thunder.
No, you're good. No, it was great.
Yeah.
Christie and Sun 50 have been amazing. I mean, you know, having a program such as Eyekonz, it's really to grow the game of lacrosse and field hockey, utilizing our curriculum. But one of the beautiful things that Christie allotted our girls to do that were chosen to participate is to work in a field that, you know, in an industry that they've always wanted to work in. You know, I have one player who is great at design. And so, you know, and then another that is very good at, you know, aesthetics. And so, you know, they were able to, all three of them, to come collectively together with Christie and Sun 50, you know, the team, and really kind of lay out the foundations of what Eyekonz is. And so one of the things that we do in our practices before every practice and game is that we have the girls line up on the field, and they have to do I am affirmations. And, you know, that's like, I'm powerful, I am, you know, magnificent, I am, you know, on and on and on. And we do that because for me, I can't teach a child how to play lacrosse or field hockey if they don't have a sense of self. So those affirming words are very important, because in the case, unfortunately, that they get called a name or subjected to some type of, you know, referee abuse, as we call it in our games, where referees are on you, you know, you are not going to be sidelined because of what someone called you, because you have a sense of self. So, you know, having Christie kind of looking at, like, you know, the I am affirmations, and then, you know, coming up with like, well, let's translate, you know, a lot of this, you know, a lot of the I am affirmations onto a headband, and that way it becomes real to form. And the girls were so excited, you know, going through the different options, and let's go with this color, let's try this layout. So it was beautiful to see, and really kind of, you know, for them, again, utilizing their athletic platforms, but going into an industry, and really Some 50 has kind of caved out a way that I don't think they would have ever thought of. So it's a really great partnership and sistership, and, you know, a businessship, you know, collectively.
I love that. I might have to send my daughter to you, Jazz, to make sure she continues to get her I am affirmations, because I probably could have used that because I was maybe a crappy teenager. But when you're like trying to figure out your sense of self and feeling so uneasy, because let's be honest, people that don't have their sense of self, to your point, oftentimes take it out on other people. So I can think of a couple of handwritten notes to some of my best friends from high school that maybe weren't so nice. So I love your mission. And I also know, when I was doing a little bit of research, that your players also have to engage in community volunteer activity. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
a mandate.
They're giving back to their community, right? What are some of the things that the girls have said that has surprised them, or some of the activities that they've you know, completed that maybe were a little bit unusual that ended up being awesome? Like, I'd love to hear about the volunteer activity, because again, when you think of young people, getting them involved and active in their own communities is so important to really like lifting the entire community up.
Yeah, so one of the things, you know, COVID hit all of us, the whole country, and we literally went into pivot mode. I think we heard that multiple times, you know, that should be a shirt called Pivot. And so, you know, we were able, yeah, exactly. So we were able to figure out, you know, we don't want them to get bored with just being at home, you know, in terms of lacrosse or field hockey, because we were doing so many Zoom practices. But I also wanted to institute a level of accountability. You know, a lot of hospitals, nursing homes, essential workers, frontliners did not have the requirements in terms of protection, you know, for masks. And so for us, it was essentially important. Okay, this is an opportunity to teach them how to engage. And that went alongside with food banks and, you know, other essentials. And so we round up as a team, and we said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to reach out to about 10 hospitals and nursing homes and essential workers industries, and we're going to then either start to make our own masks or collect them, and then we're going to do bags for the nurses, doctors, sanitation workers, you know, all those that work in the hospitals, to really give back. And in each bag, they made handmade thank you cards. And then we reached out to other lacrosse programs in the greater Philadelphia area, the city and both the suburbs, to say, hey, look, let's do this as a collective family, as a village, as we call it in our communities. And so then we had about 30 other programs that joined on, and then we were able to expound on. And it was touching to see the girls meeting up, you know, safety-wise, and putting the thank you notes into the bags, and then dropping them off to the hospitals, into the nursing homes, and, you know, the various others. And that was one of the most significant pieces that we've been able to do, because again, it was in a moment where everybody was trying to gather themselves, but now it allowed the girls to release some energy, but also know that you are part of the success of making this country a little bit more better. So they were able to do that. And then like when George Floyd news hit, the girls were very devastated. And, you know, they wanted to march at first. And I expressed, you know, Philadelphia was very dangerous. And I said, you know, let's just wait. I said, but I want to charge you to find a solution. And those same girls, you know, collectively, a smaller portion of my players said, hey, look, we want to find a solution. And so we started working on reforms with regards to racial injustice. And then one of our coaches reached out to their good friend, former Governor Ed Rendell of Pennsylvania. And then he started working with them. And they had a final meeting for about 2.5 hours. And he cross-examined them and he talked to them. And, you know, he finally endorsed them for the next branches of government to get passed through the city and state. And then they came back and they said, we still want to march, Coach Jazz. And I was like, okay, well, then you're going to have to plan it. You're going to have to do all the work to make sure we're here to support. We can, you know, provide some simple things and permits, and they did. They just had the march this past Saturday. They had over 120 people there, and it was just really magnificent to see, you know, them be able to use their collective voices for change. So, you know, both COVID and, you know, the marching for injustice. So it was great.
I tell you, I was certainly not that involved as a child, as a teenager. I'm amazed to hear that. And honestly, it's interesting because I look at, you know, kids and teenagers and individuals who aren't even of age to vote. And like, that's the movement, that's the power that's going to push us right in this movement that we talked about even earlier, that is going to continue to move forward, because you have all of these young activists at a very young age. You know, my daughter, 6 years old, knows the hashtag Black Lives Matter. We were driving behind a car that had BLM on the back, and she's like, Black Lives Matter. And so there is this, it's starting young, because you can't avoid it, right? Or if you're a parent and socially minded parent, you don't want to avoid it. And it's about how to have those conversations. And in our world of So Kickin, we talk all the time about, like, if you take action rather than just sitting back wondering what you can do, you are making a difference. You are able to go home at night and say, I did this, I took action against this, I'm not being complicit in whatever is going on around you, and really being action oriented and knowing that one thing you do can make a big difference to someone else or to the way that your family kind of looks at the world around them. So I think it's amazing to hear of all these young activists that are, honestly, I hope my daughter's exactly like that, and a lot less like sluggish like I was as a teenager, that was really just concerned with how much money I got from my day job.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of working with Some 50, you know, them utilizing their initiative, you know, but then also giving, you know, something physical to form, you know, because, you know, they wouldn't have been able to do those various tasks if they hadn't had the self-belief of the I am affirmation. So I think, you know, having now that, you know, had been when they play or when they're walking will definitely give even more sense of, you know, of I can achieve whatever it is that I believe in, you know, because it's a constant reminder. And so, you know, it's a beautiful thing to be able to partner and to be, you know, with regards to a village in that capacity.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, and I want to ask from Jeffrey, in some of our communication leading up to this panel, you had mentioned that United Way had really never done anything like this partnership that you and Faribault embarked on. And so I'm curious, because there had to have been a certain amount of selling to various members of the organization. And I think it's important to think about it this way, because I know in the So Kickin world, we had tons of for-profits coming to us wanting to collaborate, but sometimes it wasn't mutually beneficial. It was to get kind of the message that we stood for to hopefully help their following or their community, and it wasn't mutually beneficial. And so when we were thinking and looking at various collaborations and partnerships, there was a certain amount of selling within our own organization we had to do. And you are a nonprofit, and so I wanted to hear from you, what was that like in order to move the justice blanket forward?
Sure. So fortunately, as Annie described a bit earlier, we had a couple of long-standing relationships with the leadership there at Faribault. And Faribault started a significant partnership last fall, actually, by donating 100 blankets to our annual Home for Good event. And those blankets were part of kits that we give to families that are transitioning out of homelessness into stable housing. And so I would describe it as an incremental growth over the years. It wasn't just a sudden opportunity that was fully formed. And that certainly helped because we knew of Faribault, had a relationship, and my brilliant colleague, Donna Moores, who does happen to be related to me in our extended family, she really helped drive that vision where the Faribault leadership wanted to do more. So I would say that the inspiration in this case didn't come from us as a nonprofit saying, how can we help your brand elevate? It was really Faribault saying, we want to elevate. You might be the right partner. How can we do this together? And I think it's important for both nonprofits and fantastic corporate partners and businesses to consider both of those angles. It can come from either side. And we're very fortunate that Faribault chose us as the right partner to help amplify their voice and their work in this space. Regarding specific challenges, I think I would boil it down to maybe this. Us as a large nonprofit, we have over 100,000 donors that support us annually. We're investing 70 million in the community each year. We also work very closely with almost every Fortune 1000 company in the Twin Cities. That sometimes means that we have to tiptoe and be very careful. And there were concerns such as, what will a different corporate partner think if we're giving time and attention to a company like Faribault? Will they be jealous? Or will someone think that Faribault is getting more out of their relationship with us than another company? Those natural fears had to be worked through, and we had to absorb a different level of risk internally. And that happened through crucial conversations and good discussions around what really is the risk and benefit. So that, I think, was our internal challenge, is myself and Donna and Melissa Cadlick and others ensuring that if we position this and bring this to our leadership, we need to also be bringing along a conversation about where we're going in the future, what level of quote unquote risk are we willing to take. And it's a joy to see the relationship with Faribault change from material donation last year as a part of our Home for Good event and a sponsorship, and they bring employees to volunteer, to now more of this formal product collaboration, because our organization is seeing the example real time of what this work can be and how we can pursue it. So that was the main crux of it, is ensuring that people along the way were influenced and willing to absorb a little bit of risk and think outside the box. And as long as we were in lockstep and moving people along in the conversation, we got to a place where we were able to drive some success.
I like that. And it does mention that it's not just enough to have a collaboration, you actually have to put some action to it and communication around what's your intention coming out of it, so that that's that kind of like organic, intentional feel that you want from a collaboration. You don't want it to seem like it's coming out of left field or it's just a PR stunt or something, right? You want it to be something that actually matters.
Exactly. And, a legitimate concern for an organization our size is, do we solicit our donors to buy a product from a private company? And there's a balance that you have to find between highlighting a partner like Faribault and say, look what they're doing for us, let's applaud that, versus sending a direct marketing email for an individual company's product. And that, I think, was a space we had to navigate. And nuanced conversations had to happen, because in my career, I've noticed there can be a couple of mindsets depending on how a salesperson or a marketing leader or a fundraiser views their audience and how protective they are of communications channels. you have to meet people where they are in order to truly explore the partnership and move it forward, because people bring a lot of natural anxieties and concerns to the table, especially when you're talking about a nonprofit like us that's been around for over 100 years. We had to be mindful of all those concerns in order to make it a success.
Yeah, both of your organizations, Faribault and United Way, have been around for over 100 years, right? So there's a lot of history there. So I can understand that with history also comes a lot of mind frames and a lot of mindsets that also are brought into the conversation. And we have to know if the blanket is going to be restocked because we have interest.
Yes, I mean, the great thing about it is the community really embraced the blanket. And the other thing about it is that we've seen that our customer base is all across the U.S. And when we launched this, we launched the Justice Blanket on a Friday, I believe Friday morning, and by Sunday afternoon we had sold out. We sold out about 170 units. So that was really, we were excited about that, and then we were able to reproduce more. So we do have the blankets back in stock and available.
Fantastic, because we obviously want to make sure that everyone on this call can get one if they want it. We also have a question, will the Eyekonz products be available to the public, or are they solely for Jazz's girls?
That's a great question. Yes, they will be available to the public. We're going to work on that. We should have the prototype by next week. So then we'll get the players playing in it.
I love it. I love that. So we thought it would be a good chance to shift to some Q&A questions from individuals. And so one question came specific for United Way. So you make a positive impact in United Way, but there can also be challenges with large nonprofits with the overhead and internal costs to pay for their workers. How is United Way evolving based on this?
Sure. Yeah, I'm proud to say that United Way has always been top rated by Charity Navigator and other organizations that assess nonprofits and their fiscal responsibility. We're between a 13 and 18% overhead depending on the product and the type of fundraising that we're doing. So we work very hard, especially as a nonprofit that is taking funds from employee donors at companies and directly from the public. It's a prime goal of ours to ensure that we're keeping that overhead as low as possible and making sure that funds go to the community in the greatest amounts possible. So it is absolutely a concern. And I encourage everyone to check out GuideStar, Charity Navigator, other great websites that are out there that can give you a sense of how well a nonprofit is doing regarding overhead. And one thing I've learned in my career too is that it's important for all of us as concerned community members to take in considerations the cost of raising a dollar, the infrastructure necessary for certain nonprofits to deliver services. So for example, an arts nonprofit might have more expensive supplies if they're trying to encourage young people in diverse neighborhoods to explore arts. Jazz's work might require that she fund uniforms or equipment or other things. So it's not just her time and talent as a coach, it might also be other overhead. So look into that and really understand what all the various costs might be of delivering those services to constituents, because in most cases, they're very justified, and nonprofits work very hard to keep that overhead as low as possible.
Yeah, and the question also came because still Kickin, we ran into this exact issue because our overhead in order to evolve with apparel became very expensive. And guess what? We learned a lot about nonprofit tax law. And when we sell a physical good that is not tax deductible, there are challenges in how much you can sell and how much revenue you can have from an apparel item. And so we ran into this, and that is the reason why we now have a So Kickin Benefit Corp that feeds our nonprofit, and now our nonprofit can solely be focused on activities associated with supporting our heroes. And so yeah, I learned a lot more about tax law than I ever hoped to in order to get to this point where now we can hire and staff and pay equitably for the execution of all of our programs and apparel items. And we can also now focus on actually giving more money, because now we can raise more with the Benefit corp when we're not restricted as we were in the nonprofit world. And so we have learned so many things in the last 5 years about you can't make too much money.
Right.
Good as a nonprofit.
I want to share just one other quick tip. One thing I learned when I started working at United Way 4 years ago, we have a brilliant team of grant makers that are managing all the community impact we invest in. And one thing I learned is that if a nonprofit is applying to United Way for funding, our community impact experts, if that nonprofit looks like its overhead is too slim and they're not spending enough on staff development, salary, their own infrastructure, it actually raises some skepticism on our part because we wonder how sustainable is that? Exactly. Are they spending enough on themselves, on their own development, on the infrastructure they need? And that was a real mind opener for me, that you don't necessarily want to see a nonprofit only using 5% overhead. You should ask additional questions about the long-term sustainability if that's the case.
And I can tell you, we did not pay our very first employee enough in the first year. Lindsay Wenner, I love you. You basically worked for free. So yes, to your point, we had to make some investments and making sure that we're really living up to supporting the community in the way that we talk about it. Another question, and anyone who wants to jump in and answer this can. Christie, I thought of you in particular because you're so socially minded, but I'd love to hear about tips for starting authentic relationships that can result in social impact and collaboration.
That's a great question. Us, it's very easy. I have always, my husband and I founded this company, and so us, it's big. And off with the Skincare Foundation, American Academy of Dermatology, the Claire Marie Foundation, and that was all need awareness to create that aware from a perspective, and it's all of our fabrics.
Hey, Christie, you're breaking out pretty bad. I'm getting bits and pieces.
It's a 360 deal.
But I don't want to piecemeal what you're saying. So, Christie, I'll let you, we're probably having some Wi-Fi issues out in Black Hills where she is. But if anyone else has any input, I'd love to hear, or Molly, or direction.
Oh, sorry, I think we had a bison stampede. I apologize.
Yeah, no worries.
No, I was going to say it's very easy to work when it's from the heart. I mean, really it is. And people approach us all the time, but I cannot be disingenuous in what I do. And our brand will always be authentic. The coworkers that we have are authentic. I think of them as family. They're treated with respect. We are absolutely collaborators. And they feel just as passionate as I do about Sun 50 and the partnerships that we form. We want to take care of people, and we want to take care of our planet. And the things that we make are for people with our planet in mind. And I don't just mean environmentally, though that's extremely important. It has to do with character, stewardship, treating people respectfully, and everyone around you. And it's just been, for us, it's like breathing for Sun 50. It really is, working in these collaborations.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Molly, or I think the lab team, we were going to move on to some of our fun giveaways.
Yeah, thank you. And Christie, that was, I think, the ideal way to wrap up this conversation. I hate to cut this off because it's such a great conversation to have, but that was a wonderful way to wrap it up. And thank you again for all of you to being here today. I have Heather here. I think she just joined. Heather is the Director of Experiences at Lab, and she curates all of these lab talks. I thank you, Heather. I need to thank you for making this happen today as well. And like every lab talks that we have giveaways as a way to just say thank you and to support some local businesses. And of course, just, giveaways are fun. So Heather's gonna take it over from here and talk through those.
Yes, thank you so much. Like I said, this is always our mini Oprah moment.
Yes,
So
totally.
whatever, just go with it. So first, yeah. So first of all, we have, let's see, Hallie will cue the slides. We have a fun swag bag from the United Way. Check out their website too. They redid it. It looks fantastic. So yes, the winner of the United Way swag bag is
Drum roll.
Christina Martinez. And what we'll do is I'll connect with everybody via email and get you hooked up with the right person, and we'll make sure you get your goods. So super fun. So thanks, Jeffrey, for donating that.
You're welcome.
And then we've got this is another hot product, the Be Kind stuff. It's still kicking, is adorable, and it always sells out super fast. And so Emily's going to put together a fun swag bag. And so that winner is Abby Jensen. Awesome. Lucky you. Super fun. And then this is Christie's personal favorite. I totally dig it too. Mm-hmm. It's a zip up cover up dress. You can pick your color, your size, all the details to the winner, but love this so much. And the winner is, hopefully it's not a guy. Well, maybe that's fine. Gabriella Chenoweth. So lucky you. I will connect you with Christie for sure. Oh, and here's the super hot blanket right now. It's currently sold out, but any secured one. So thank you. So the lucky winner of this beautiful Justice blanket is Marcus Genslinger. Nice. Okay, excellent. Yay. Lucky you. That's a good one. And then Lab decided to do, our creative team did 3 different prints, kind of each representing each of the organizations featured today. And our give back is the 100% of the proceeds we will split them among Eyekonz, the United Way, and Still Kickin. So we're going to give a set of these prints away to a guest today, but then after this, you will find them on our website in the shop for purchase. So the lucky winner of the set of 3 is Sarah Graves.
Yes, Sarah!
Yeah.
I went to college with her. Sorry.
So that is super fun. Like I said, those were available on the shop page at labmpls.com for anybody interested. You can purchase them over the next, I think it's about a week and a half. So yes. And then I just want to say thank you again to this awesome panel. Like I said, I was personally super excited about all of these connections. And like we said, there's second degree of separation, especially once you start chatting and talking to people, and everyone's doing such an amazing work. Our next lab talk will be late October, and we're bringing back Jared Sumner, and we're going to do Creative Process Volume 3. So we're pairing up two individuals to talk about that, but we'll be releasing that registration in a couple weeks. So look for that if you're on the lab email list. And then we'll also be sending a recap with links to all of these wonderful organizations so you can continue to follow their journeys, what they're doing, and give back yourself. So everybody have a great week, and thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Wonderful.
Thanks to everyone joining us as well. Have a wonderful day. Take care, everyone.
Stay well.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.